This is James Randi, and you're listening to The Skeptic Zone.
Welcome to The Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to The Skeptic Zone, episode number 280 for the 2nd of March 2014. Richard Saunders here with you from Sydney, Australia. A bit soggy this weekend. Coming up on this week's show, Dr. Rachie and I interview Chas Licciardello from the Checkout program. Now, many Australian listeners will be very familiar with Chas and the Chaser team for the Chasers War and everything, CNN, NN, Planet America, lots of shows from the Chaser people. Chas is now one of the people behind the new show, The Checkout. Well, it's in its second series. This is all about consumer affairs, done with a pretty funny twist, but it's really, really good information and many times good skeptical information. So a chat with Chas from The Checkout, learn a little bit about the behind-the-scenes action, and following that we have a clip from the most recent show all about gluten-free food. Following that, it's a week in science from our friends at RiAus.org.au, the Royal Institution of Australia. This week, rather a serious subject really, organ donation. And then to round off the show, more from Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson and Druyan, who are just about to launch the new Cosmos series on the world. I was very fortunate to attend a special screening of the first episode of Cosmos here in Sydney at the Sydney Opera House, and I'm going to play some audio from that evening. Question and answers and more comments. But stay tuned after that. At the end of the show, details of how you can win a little prize pack from Cosmos, courtesy of the National Geographic Channel, consisting of, amongst other things, an autographed copy of the Cosmos book, autographed by Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson and Druyan. But before we kick off the show with the interview with Chas from the Checkout, I've been told that there's going to be a Skeptic camp in Brisbane. Yeah, good old Bris Vegas, on the 19th of July at Hamilton Town Hall. The best thing to do is to go to the website brisskepticcamp.org. Also, don't forget Sydney Ciders, Sydney Skeptics in the Pub, the first Thursday of the month at the Crown Hotel. And we also have a great dinner coming up in Sydney on March the 29th about technophobia with a really interesting speaker, Ketan Joshi. More information about all of that, head to www.skeptics.com.au, where you can also subscribe to the magazine, The Skeptic. But for now, it's time for me to run downstairs, look for some nice blue cheese. Quite partial to blue cheese. While I'm doing that, I hope you enjoy The Skeptic Zone.
You can have confidence in the information on the checkout because it's been tested.
The results show that the checkout reduces stress while shopping, increases knowledge of consumer affairs, and boosts wellness-iness.
It's the only consumer affairs show with proven results.
Tired? Stressed? You'll feel better on switching to the checkout.
Returns Thursday at 8 on ABC One.
Well, I'm here in the palatial, plush green room at the ABC, behind the scenes, as it were. I'm with Dr. Rachie. Hello, Dr. Rachie.
Hello, Dr. Richard.
Doctor now. And we're with Chas Licciardello. Hello.
Can I be Dr. Chas just for this podcast?
You can. Now, of course, I'm sure listeners in Australia are very familiar with Chas and the Chaser team, the Hamster Wheel team, the CNN team, the Planet USA team, all of the above.
I don't think the Chaser would like to take credit for Planet America. That was just me. But all the rest was Chaser.
Planet America. I got that wrong, of course. All interesting shows. Planet America was a bit of a departure for you, I think. It was sort of straight.
It was a departure from the me that you guys know, the me that gets naked a lot and dresses up like a chicken. But the actual me is a massive geek. It's one of the things, not that anyone really cares about the Chaser, but one of the unknown things about the Chaser is that people confuse my personality with Julian's personality because of the way the character we play on screen. They think that Julian's like this really straight-laced old guy, and I'm this freaky, drunk, sort of jackass style person. When in actual fact, Julian is the wild child of the Chaser, and I am the uber geek. I spend my entire life on the internet just reading science articles and stuff, and and American politics, which is why Planet America was right down my alley. I'm into American politics. I'm a nerd.
It was an interesting show, and in fact, you have a degree in science.
I do. Wow, you can read Wikipedia.
I can.
It's very
only this morning.
I once had ambitions of actually being a science teacher. And unfortunately, TV dragged me away from a respectable career, and look what I've become. It's a real shame.
And just in passing, I'd mentioned that I'm good friends with many of the people at the Independent Investigations Group in Hollywood, IIG, and they gave the Hamster Wheel a special award last year.
Yes, which was very flattering.
Yeah.
It's, if we can't get a Logie, in fact, stuff the Logies. That's much better. Thank you.
So you've come to the notice of skeptical groups around the world for the shows that you've been involved with. And we can talk about The Checkout now, which is in its second series on the ABC. Yeah. And basically, for those listeners in Australia who may remember, in the 1980s there was a great show which became very popular called The Investigators. And you've no doubt seen tapes of it, and I saw it when it was aired.
Every single segment of our show is a direct rip-off.
I don't doubt it. Which was consumer investigations. Yeah. Is this product dodgy? What can you do about it? It almost turned into a sort of a Today Tonight, would they'd be chasing dodgy people and all the rest of it. And this is really carrying on that tradition, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it was Julian's idea, The Checkout, and he definitely had the investigators in mind. The way he pitched it to us was he said it's time to bring that kind of show back and update it and to jazz it up a little bit. We definitely never wanted to do the foot indoor type stuff. Because obviously what happened was the investigators did that first, and then A Current Affair and Today Tonight put their own spin on that kind of, inverted commas, journalism, and it sort of morphed from there. And we just decided that kind of stuff, that's had its shelf life, and we've had enough going out in the community and causing trouble ourselves, and so we thought we'd leave that out of it, but we'd just bring our own mindset, because obviously a lot of the shows we've done in the past, like The War and Everything, and especially Hamster Wheel, had very much the same mindset, a kind of, if you will, a skeptical mindset.
Indeed.
We've always sort of seen ourselves as kind of bullshit detectors, and whatever the field that we're involved in, and we thought consumer affairs is something that lends itself to that kind of attitude. And there was nothing on TV that was doing that. So we thought, well, there's a gap in the market. Let's not make the same show every single year for the rest of our lives. Let's try something different.
Because you keep reinventing yourself. And look over what you and your colleagues have done over the years. It does change. You do try different things.
Well, we try to. We try not to do the same show for more than 3 years in a row, because we just it's very easy to get stale, and it just keeps you interested. And also I feel like that what we've tried to do over the years, I don't know if we achieve it, but what we try and do is we try and mix something that's smart with something that's really stupid. Because if you do really smart, detailed, research-driven shows, which we tend to try to do, it gets very boring and people just tune out. But we figure we have I don't know if you call it a gift or whether I don't know what you call it, maybe, but we have this thing where it's the curse of ADD, where we just can't go for more than 30 seconds without making some cheap joke. And we discovered that if you condense all those cheap jokes over the top of the research, it's the old spoonful of sugar. A spoonful of sugar pills helps the medicine go down, and that's what we try and do. And so what we actually look for is for the driest possible area, and go, can we spice that up?
Right.
And we thought consumer affairs was pretty dry, and so we're doing our best.
Well, of course, I mean, every time you look at a subject on The Checkout, it's done in a very humorous, over-the-top way, with people jumping out of things, and, well, you never know what to expect.
Yeah.
Which keeps it very lively.
Well, yeah, we do get a lot of, I must admit, we do get a lot of complaints about that, because
really?
Something which you might not realise is, let's try something out. What do you think the median age of the ABC's viewership is? Take a guess.
Median?
Median.
50-ish.
Yeah, I'd say 59.
Let me give you some numbers. That I don't remember every other channel exactly, but it's the commercial channels are somewhere between 42 and 48 from memory. Their median age viewership. The ABC's is 63.
Wow.
It's a very old viewership. Did pretty well there, Dr. Rachie.
Do I win a prize?
Yes,
Bills for everyone.
You win the managing directorship of the ABC. Anyway, and so as a result of that, all these, that's the median, which means there's an awful lot of 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds watching the ABC as well.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure they really enjoy our editing very much. I think they might find it a little bit frenetic.
You're probably right.
Yeah, and so
and they would remember the investigators from the 1980s.
Oh, they certainly do, and they were not frenetic with their editing at that point in time.
No.
So we do get a fair number of complaints about that. They go, well, who exactly are you making this show for? I can barely follow it. And we just figure, well, you got a video, just watch it again.
Watch it.
That's right.
Well, a good example of your, I guess, where you're aiming for was a particularly good show, which I really enjoyed last year, the Checkout, where you looked at the Australia tax, for lack of a better word, especially when it comes to things like iTunes and software companies whacking on a huge extra cost simply because you're in Australia and you want to download the exact same bits and bytes.
And there's more coming on that because that struck a chord with a lot of our viewers, and they sent us a lot of tip-offs about that. And one of them, I'll give you a sneak preview here. I couldn't believe this. One of them was about a car rental company in Melbourne, so in Melbourne, near the airport. And if you hire the same car and you have an Australian driver's license, versus if you hire exactly the same car for exactly the same period of time from this Melbourne car rental place and you happen to have a Canadian passport, you get charged less. It just makes no sense whatsoever. They charge you more because they can charge you more.
Yeah.
So there'll be a bit more on that.
That's interesting. You think they'd charge them more because they'd be used to driving on the other side.
Yes.
That's a bit amazing. Now, another thing I like about the Checkout particularly is you really encourage people to contact you with tips and information. You've even got the YouTube, which is hilarious.
Yeah. Now, Jules was very big on that one. That was actually part of his initial vision, that as much as possible, he likes to have actual viewer YouTube clips leading into stories. And we do. I can promise you that not just I personally read every single email that we get. And I would say at least half our content comes from the viewers. So it's very, very useful. And I can actually see that as part of the mission because, in these days of ABC efficiency, when people go, why is the ABC there? I kind of like the idea, even though I'm not planning to go to any Senate subcommittee soon and testify, I do like the idea of going, well, you know what, if this is a commercial show, we'd be ignoring those emails. But we actually do read those emails and we respond to as many as we can. I mean, there's way too many to respond to, but especially when people ask questions, because they just ask advice, which is really kind of sad that they trust us to give them serious advice about their legal situation. But just so happens that most of us have law degrees anyway. So so we do try and respond and actually give them advice, and then we don't have to do that. But I just see it as part of the mission statement. And just,
is it a legal minefield what you're doing? Is there a lot of time? Yeah.
Oh, is it ever? You would not believe it. Because, for number one, the companies that we're talking about here have deep pockets and like to serve. Right. Very frequently. So there's a real issue there, as we've discovered over and over again already. but on top of that, this is the kind of area where it's just so complicated that it's very difficult to... There are a lot of shades of grey in this area, and that's the reason why people don't understand it, because it's too complicated for them to bother. And I think often companies intentionally make it complicated. So you can't get, like banks, when you talk about banks and all their charging and stuff, no one can get to the bottom of that.
No, it's too much information.
It's intentionally made inscrutable. We did a piece, which is going to be in episode 3, I think, about managed funds.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the managed funds industry, it took us weeks to understand what was going on there. I don't even think the people involved in the industry know what's going on there. It's just so hard. So, there's a lot of research.
Well, the episode that just went to air had a story on the credit cards.
Yes.
And paying off your minimum balance and all the rest.
Absolutely, yeah. And we try to have as much of that kind of thing as possible, because once again, no one else is going to do that. And the reason why they don't do that is because it's hard. It's really hard. And so we figure, we've all got our law degrees. We are people who like going through scientific papers and stuff. We're nerds. So if we're not going to do it, who's going to do it?
Koshi?
Maybe Koshi. I'm yet to see that, but never know. We live in hope. It's it's funny how we end up doing. Like, I'm not a very financial person, but just like I said. If by the way, I should say, your listeners might be wondering why you're even talking to me. Like, why I'm not Julian or Craig was like. I actually work on the show. I'm just not on air. I'm the guy in charge of the scripts. So I'm the script editor. So we all write stuff together, and then I polish it over. And basically, I'm the guy behind the scenes while everyone else is filming stuff. Because when you're filming stuff on TV, you just don't have time to dot the I's and cross the T's. And so the advantage of the Chaser is, since there's 500 of us, one of us can be taking care of that while everyone else is putting their pretty face on TV. So I actually have to be across all this research. That's the reason I brought it up then. And it does wear you down, I must say.
But you find it at least refreshing change not to be the character on the TV?
Oh, yeah. Look, I'll be honest. The only reason why I do TV at all, I do appear on camera at all, is because you get paid twice as much. Writers get screwed over in the Australian TV industry.
Is there danger money for no pants?
I think the audience should get danger money for watching me with no pants. But basically, if you're the world's best writer and you walk into a board meeting with a TV management type and you go, I'd like to do a TV show, they go, who are you? But if you're, I don't know, Shelley Craft, and you walk into a TV management meeting and you go, I'd like to do this TV show. Oh, you're Shelley Craft. We recognise you. Yeah. So it's just the way TV works. So you need to get your face in front of the camera every now and then, just so you have a bit of cachet and you get paid more. But I hate it. I don't like filming stuff. I much prefer writing and just doing I'm a geek. I like doing the geek stuff.
Well, it must be nice to at least have a change.
And it's great. It's great that every single topic, you'll spend a week diving in there and just, you'll be neck deep in chlorophyll studies and stuff. And then the next week you'll be doing something completely different, that's fun. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just getting back to what we were discussing with the legal minefield, and you do get probably nasty letters from legal representatives, as you were saying.
Yes.
And I don't know how much you can talk about. I don't know what's in front of the courts at the moment with the Swiss story.
I can talk much more than I should. This is one of those things where you just...
for our listeners' benefits, it's the Swiss vitamin companies in Australia who were making interesting claims.
Yeah, well, look, the legal situation, what it's about is essentially you can... Oh, look, this is not cut and dry. If I was going to generalise, you can have a go at any company you like.
Yeah.
But when you make a claim about an individual, that's when it gets into defamation. Companies can't be defamed. Individuals can be defamed, generally speaking. Yeah. Right? Now, the Swiss vitamin story, we were basically... It wasn't really even about Swiss. It was about the TGA, which is the regulators of these vitamin pills, etc. Yeah. And we were basically saying the TGA are rubbish.
Yes.
And their regulation process is a joke, and people just make whatever stupid claims they like.
You didn't basically say... You actually said it as a joke.
Yes, very much so. And we said these people just make up whatever claims they like with very little evidence, and the TGA basically rubber stamps it until someone complains. Yeah. And then when someone complains, there's this very... onerous process which clicks into gear, and after 2 years the TGA will say, well, you can't say that, and then they'll just change the name and then say it again. Like, that's basically what we were alleging. Now I can repeat all that because none of that's defamatory, but as part of that report we noted that we focused on Swiss in particular because they just are the face of this kind of product. When I say this kind of product, I mean the whole vitamin industry, right? They advertise all over the place, so we focus on them. And as part of that process, we noted that some of the items that were tested by Swiss, the evidence they presented was tested by the father of the CEO. Now, he's an individual. Right. And he said, oh, hang on, you're linking me to all you've been talking about. Now, that's defamation. You're saying I'm dodgy, so I'm taking you to court. So that's what the court case is all about.
Right.
And we obviously are going to disagree with his suggestions or allegations. And it's going to take years and years and years because that's how defamation works. I actually think the whole defamation situation... I really shouldn't be saying this, but I really think the whole defamation situation in Australia is kind of a joke because poor people don't sue other people for defamation. Yeah. Rich people sue people. People who already have power can make themselves even more powerful by using defamation law against other people. And if I had my way, there wouldn't be, or at least the defamation law would be reformed greatly. But I don't get my way, and so we're just going to do our best, and we'll see how we go.
The situation in the UK has been changing because of the libel laws there, which you may know something about. A good friend of ours, Dr. Simon Singh, was taken to task by the chiropractors.
Yeah.
He called them out.
Yeah.
And there was big court battles ensued, but they are changing the law, which is a good thing. So
Well,
who knows? Maybe in this country.
Hopefully. Well, yeah, we have a government that is supposedly about free enterprise. I would argue that free enterprise will prosper if there is less defamation law. I would say.
Well, the lawyers won't prosper so much. There you go. There you go. Anyway, Chas, it's wonderful that this show is on the air. I enjoyed it immensely. Can't wait to see the next episode, because I learn something on every episode, especially when you did the one about the iTunes gouging, which was eye-opening for me. The fact that you don't need to keep the original box when you buy something. I didn't know that. I've had shelves full of boxes I've been giving just in case.
Even receipts. You don't need that. You just need some kind of proof. And the credit card account is a proof of purchase.
Yeah.
So no, I learn a lot in this show myself, actually, when we're studying stuff. It's surprising.
Will it produce a book? Check out the book.
Look, I mean, it could, but to be honest, we've always been incredibly slack at doing anything else when we're doing TV. Like, we used to have a newspaper, and we had the worst business model in the world. The Chaser was originally a newspaper, and we would spend ages slaving over every edition, trying to build literally subscriber by subscriber. We'd start off with 2,000 subscribers, and we'd take 6 months to build painstakingly like the 2,200 subscribers, and then we'd be on TV, and you think, okay, this is the time where you can capitalise and get lots and lots of extra subscribers. And we just stopped doing it for 6 months.
Used to subscribe.
You know all about it. And then at the end of the TV, we'd actually have less subscribers. And you go, if it was anyone else, they'd be rolling out episode after episode, like when they're doing TV, edition after edition, and trying to cash in with their subscribers. But we're hopeless. So when we do TV, it just takes over. We spend 14, 15 hours a day. We don't have time to do anything else.
It's TV, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, the checkout is, of course, ABC TV, 8 p.m. on Thursdays.
Thank you very much.
And it runs about 10 episodes or something like that?
Well, it did last year. This year we're going a little bit psycho. We've got 20 episodes. There's 4 best-ofs in the middle there, but there's 20 in a row, yes.
You're going to need a bit of that. You're going to probably need some alternative medicine by the end of that.
Well, and not just the end of that. As soon as we finish that, we start working on the next Chaser show, which is at the end of this year. So, and it's going to be a new format. So,
Well, speaking of magazines, let me leave you with some of this for the team. There we are.
Thank you very much.
Of The Skeptic, the
Thank
journal
you very
from the
much.
Skeptic, so I'm sure your team might even get an idea or two out of.
I tell you, we probably will. I tell you who will be particularly into this is Kirsten, who is an absolute machine. She just devours all this kind of stuff. She's the reason that we get her on the attack dog pieces. Like the Australian Made, we've got a report on organic food coming up soon. Watch out for that one. And the superfoods last year as well. Like, she went through 40 scientific studies to produce that report. She is just a machine. She's going to love this.
Well, let her know that she can certainly call on us for any advice or help or tips from our 30 plus years of looking into this interesting area.
Much appreciated.
Chas, the checkout, a great show. Please watch it, everybody, and thank you very much.
I'm not sceptical about that point.
Remember a time when gluten was safe to eat? Great! But now we're under attack. Some estimate 1 million Australians are currently on some form of gluten-free diet. Gluten is a protein found in foods like bread, pastas, cereals, and noodles! Experts have been warning about the dangers of gluten for years. Experts like Gwyneth Paltrow, Miranda Kerr, Miley Cyrus, and Novak Djokovic's dog all advocate avoiding gluten to lose weight, get fit, and even clear up your skin. So why is it that gluten is suddenly so bad for us? Let's chat to an expert to find out. Can you explain to us why so many Australians are currently going gluten-free? Yeah, I don't think this is going to work. So, can you tell me why more people are going gluten-free?
The commonest reason is a condition called celiac disease. This is an autoimmune condition whereby affected individuals who consume gluten acquire a lot of damage to the small intestine and sometimes other organs as a consequence of this.
Right, and so how many people are affected by that?
About 1 in 100 Australians. There is another group, perhaps a smaller group of people who do not feel so good when they consume gluten. There is no scientific basis for this and no scientific explanation, and in particular there are no diagnostic tests or blood tests for this condition.
Wait, stop, don't move. Cupcake.
Don't shoot, I'm a Freon.
Yeah, you keep walking, Freon. Sorry about that. So if you're not a celiac, is there any benefit to going gluten-free?
There is no evidence that a gluten-free diet is beneficial. In fact, it is difficult to achieve weight loss often on a gluten-free diet, as often gluten-free products are supplemented with fat and sugar to make them more palatable and tasty. I mean, compare these two San Remo products I recently purchased from Coles.
You just have them on your desk?
Yes. And the gluten-free product has 25% more fat and 3 times the sugar content.
Is it possible that that's good for you?
No, not unless you have celiac disease or are gluten intolerant.
See, that's interesting, because according to this report of a Coles survey, which, by the way, Coles hasn't published and refused to give us a copy of, around 50% of people who buy gluten-free do so because they reckon it's healthier. Remember the halo effect?
If you think foods are healthy in one area, you might wrongly assume that they're healthy in other ways too. Why am I dressed as a cupcake? I'm a Freon.
Maybe when we see gluten-free on a packet, we assume that it's healthy in other ways. And if we think that, then maybe we're willing to pay a little bit more for it. But how much more?
Remember the San Reno penne? Mm-hmm. The gluten-free version is 250% more expensive than the normal version.
Huh. And you just have those receipts on hand?
Yes, and according to Celiac Australia, it costs $1,000 extra each year to go gluten-free.
Wow. Thanks for not being a dog. And here's another thing. Some products, like this gluten-free bacon, never had gluten in them to begin with. Or if they did, it was in completely negligible quantities. Still, doesn't hurt to give your product a point of difference.
Oh, look, honey. This bacon contains no angry swarms of bees.
What a relief.
And make sure you pair that bacon with this gluten-free salt. Gluten-free because, you know, it's salt. And if you really want to waste some money, why not treat yourself to some gluten-free shampoo? Yours for just $26.95, even though the gluten-in shampoo wouldn't be problematic for celiacs unless they ate it.
It worked for me.
So, unless you're a celiac or gluten intolerant, and you're not, there's no reason why you can't sit down to a delightful gluten meal. But if you do suspect that you're gluten intolerant, then it's best to speak to a doctor. No, a real doctor.
Hey, this is Jay Novella from the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe podcast. Did you know that there are thousands of skeptical reports, interviews, and investigations going back to 1981, free to download? Just visit www.skeptics.com.au. Click the publications link and enjoy almost every back issue of The Skeptic, the journal from Australian skeptics. You can also subscribe online and get the latest digital or hard copy of this, the world's second oldest skeptical magazine. That's www.skeptics.com.au or just Google Australian Skeptics.
We spend a lot of time talking, but do we actually talk about the things that matter? Have you talked to your loved ones about what happens to your organs after you die? Organ donation is not as simple as you may think. Only a small percentage of people who die can actually become donors. First, you need to die in a hospital. Organs deteriorate quickly once you die because they lack oxygen. This means they won't be healthy enough to donate if you die elsewhere. Even with this, however, there are very specific criteria that need to be met before someone can donate, with each organ having different criteria. These include a wide range of factors for both donor and recipient. A person can only donate their organs once they've been pronounced brain dead, meaning they can't think, feel, respond, or breathe independently. A diagnosis of brain death must be given by 2 separate doctors before the donor's organs can even be considered for transplantation. Additionally, the criteria ensure that people receiving the organs have the best chance of survival. With every donor being capable of transforming the lives of 10 or more people, it's really important that the organs are used the best they can. If you want to register to become a donor, discuss it with your family first, then go to the Donate Life website to find out more. And now, 4 fast facts about organ donation. The first human organ transplant took place in 1883, a thyroid transplantation by Swiss surgeon Theodor Kocher. One of the major issues is rejection of the organ by the recipient's body. This is minimised by reducing the effectiveness of the recipient's immune system. The first heart transplantation was in 1967 by Christian Barnard, a South African surgeon. And research is continuing into xenotransplantation, using animal cells or organs to transplant into humans, which could ease organ waiting lists. Want to find out more about organ transplantation? Head to our website where we have some more information. And we'll catch you right back here next week.
Did you see that UFO sighting that made the news? What did that latest study about alternative treatments really say? Is this photo making the rounds real or a hoax? Doubtful News is a unique website featuring news about pseudoscience, the paranormal, anomalies, and questionable claims framed with a skeptical view. Come visit doubtfulnews.com every day for news about cryptozoology, conspiracies, shams, scams, and more. Follow us on Twitter at Doubtful News. Critical thinking is essential in assessing today's news. Doubtful News helps you decide, can you really believe this stuff?
This is the cosmos, a network of 100 billion galaxies. And it's the greatest story science has ever told. Life on Earth is one of the unsolved mysteries of science. Come with me. Our journey is just beginning.
We're really pleased to have you here with us tonight to share the premiere screening of Cosmos: A Space-Time Odyssey. And we're very lucky tonight to have the presence of Druyan and Neil deGrasse Tyson, who are on a 4-continent global promotional tour, and we have them here in Sydney. There are many fantastic television shows that are produced every year. But there are only a few that are truly groundbreaking and iconic. And the original Cosmos series was one of those shows. 30 years later, it's time to bring it back. And to bring it back to audiences around the world in what will be, like Jason said, the largest global launch event for a television series. We're going to be premiering it across all of National Geographic channels and across all Fox channels around the world in 171 countries in 45 languages. At National Geographic, we're passionate about exploration. It's in our DNA. And Cosmos: A Space-Time Odyssey represents a stunning, epic journey into a new age of exploration. The series aspires to bring the wonders of the universe to the broadest possible audience through stunning visuals and outstanding storytelling. This is a thrilling 13-part series. I hope you really enjoy tonight. Ask all the questions you want to ask. You won't get too many opportunities to meet Neil and Anne and ask them whatever you want to ask. Thank you very much.
So, without further ado, can I please welcome Neil deGrasse Tyson and Druyan. Thank you. So before we get into the question time, take us on a bit of a journey through Cosmos, the revisiting of one of the most incredible series on TV.
Well, it
One
was...
of the most?
You have The Walking Dead.
Oh, okay.
Well, it was my honor to write the original Cosmos series with the great Carl Sagan and with astrophysicist Stephen Soter some 35 years ago. And 7 years ago, I began setting out to produce and to write with Stephen Soter the new Cosmos series. One of our first decisions was to invite Neil deGrasse Tyson to join us. And I think the manifold reasons why we made that choice will become crystal clear during the course of the next 45 minutes. So we now have a new 13 hours, totally new 13 hours of Cosmos to present to the world. And thanks to National Geographic and Fox, we have been given, as you've just heard, the widest, broadest, tallest possible platform in which to do so. Cosmos, as you probably all know, is the great story of the universe as revealed by science. It's also the story of the searchers who helped us establish our imperfect and incomplete understanding of the vastness. It's also a journey across the universe of space and of time. And I'd love to turn it over to Neil to complete our little introduction.
She didn't leave anything left for me to say. Cosmos, I think, distinguishes itself from the traditional documentary, where nowadays when you go tune into a documentary, there's some expectations you have, and typically they're fulfilled. The documentary teaches you some frontier subject that's been updated recently, or perhaps it'll be a little more sort of pedantic and will give you basic information about some knowledge of science, typically a page torn from a textbook, and that's fine. That's fine. But Cosmos, the original, and I think we've succeeded in continuing this epic adventure, we do more than that. Yes, there's science to learn, no doubt about it. But what's more important than even the science to learn is why the science matters to you as a human being, to culture, to our capacity to be good shepherds of civilization. And it's this messaging that is throughout Cosmos, the original and the new one, that distinguishes what Cosmos is and what it will mean to you after you've observed it. And so people always ask me, us, well, how much science has happened in the last 35 years? What did you have to add? And yeah, sure, there's like the multiverse. We got that, all right? The planet, there's 1,000 planets discovered orbiting other stars beyond the sun. We got that, right? We're there. But without a thread that connects it back to us, it would just be information rather than wisdom. And so if we've succeeded as in the way we think, we have duly continued this epic adventure begun by Carl Sagan.
And how do you find the accessibility of the science? Was that a challenge in the new series?
Well, for me it wasn't a challenge because I'm not a scientist. And so I know if I don't understand something, then my friends in the audience will not understand also. And I think the important thing is to communicate and to connect. And I hope you'll feel that we haven't in any way dumbed down the science in these 13 hours. But as Carl Sagan taught us all, there's a way to say it so that everyone from the smallest child to the most august scientist can appreciate the meaning and the significance. And I think that all of us remember the singular poetry that Carl brought to the joy of understanding a little bit about the beauty and the vastness of which we are a part.
Do you feel, Neil, communicating the science on the show, that the responsibility of potentially changing government policy? I mean, this is...
Oh, yeah. I mean, people say, oh, will cosmos be good for kids? Yeah, but adults outnumber kids 5-1 in the world, and adults run things and wield resources and have all the power. And so I would expect, if Cosmos succeeds as we intend, that whether or not you see Cosmos and say, I want to become a scientist, that'd be good. We'll take that. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. But what's more likely, statistically, is that there'll be entire communities of people who would have never thought to think about science before in the way it's been presented in Cosmos. And it may then influence their future thinking about policy, about society, about... I mean, think about it. The needs we now have in the 21st century, transportation, energy, and the conflict, the duality between the need for energy and the consequences of burning fossil fuels on the very environment that's providing us stable climate to conduct these activities. So we become the seeds of our own undoing. And one of the greatest tragedies of the galaxy would be that our civilization collapses for reasons that we had foresight to predict and the power to stop, yet didn't. And in my Twitter stream, I occasionally reflect upon how embarrassed I'd be if an alien landed next to me and I had to tell them, yeah, we're pulling fossil fuels out of the ground. Is that how you're getting your energy? When all the universe is unlimited sources? And so the conversation I had, I said, okay, alien, come back in 100 years. All right, maybe I got something to show you then.
But that's exactly at the heart of Cosmos, is how do you get the public to stop compartmentalizing the scientific information that we get when we hold something wholly unrelated in our hearts. Cosmos is about breaking down that wall before it's too late, so that we begin to take to heart not only the warnings of the scientific community, most urgently, but also the beauty of our origins, of where we came from, of the continuity of life that stretches back almost 4 billion years on this planet. I hope that if Cosmos can accomplish anything, it would be to break down that denial and to awaken us from our stupor and begin to protect that continuity and value it above anything else.
Yeah, I'd add that I imagine that there are 3 categories. There's more than 3, but for this, 3 broad kinds of people. They're the people who are already sort of comfortable with science, sort of the geek set, right? The geek chic. And so we got them. We got them. They're there. We got them. Then there are the people who never knew that they would like science or embrace it. And Cosmos would then be an awakening for them. The ignition of a flame that can burn deeply within them. Awakening, perhaps, if you will, their inner geek. There's a 3rd category I think is the most challenging, and I think we might even succeed there as well. And this is the community of people that, as far as they're concerned, they know they don't like science. That science is not for them. That science, maybe they're the walking wounded from their days in school after having been injured in science classes. But there's surely a community of people that reject science for whatever reasons, be it some other conflicting bit of philosophy, be it political philosophy, religious philosophy, any outlook you have that forces you to reject it. Cosmos will be very visible to them. I think it'll be hard to channel surf past it. The stunning visualizations of the universe, the tenderness with which information is conveyed, the soulfulness with which you learn what our place is in the universe. I'm not there pontificating. I'm not up on high requiring that you pay attention to me. This is an offering. And I think at my best, I come out of the screen and I'm sitting next to you. And we're just talking about the universe.
On that note, let's have a look. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone, and as promised, here are the details of how you can win that wonderful Cosmos pack, courtesy of the National Geographic Channel. I have one pack to give away for an Australian listener, and one pack to give away for an international listener at the moment. All those people who are coming to Sydney Skeptics in the pub, by the way, I've got another prize pack to give away there, another prize pack probably for the dinner coming up, and, so on. Anyway, getting back to the competition. Now, to make it fair, all you have to do is come up with a number between 1 and 1 billion. In this case, that's 1,000 million, not a million. So a number between 1 and 1,000 million. Write that number in an email addressed to cosmos@skepticzone.tv. The person with the closest number to the randomly selected number in Australia will win a Cosmos pack, and also the same for the person who has the closest number to a randomly selected number internationally. The competition will close at midnight on the 6th of March. That's this coming Thursday. Which midnight, you might ask? Your local time midnight. In other words, when the last midnight in the world on the 6th of March has gone, that's when the competition closes. So there it is. Send an email with your guess of a number between 1 and 1,000 million, addressed to cosmos@skepticzone.tv. You could put competition in the subject line, and I'll announce the winners on next week's show. And don't forget, for those listeners in Australia, tune into the National Geographic Channel Sunday, March the 16th at 7:30 p.m. for the first episode of Cosmos. And everybody else around the world, check your local listings. But for now, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to The Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.